Welcome to Alberta Conservation Association's Harvest Your Own podcast, the resource for everything hunting, navigating through the field, the butcher shop, and the kitchen. Life is all about great food. Let's get started.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Brad Fenson, an avid outdoor enthusiast who has worked as a freelance journalist, photographer, and public speaker for over 3 decades. I have hunted, fished, and foraged all my life and hope to share my passion for the outdoors. Along the way, I want to encourage everyone to harvest wild proteins and enjoy the satisfaction of providing the next meal for your family. Our goal is to educate, entertain, and inspire individuals to get outdoors and create a connection between food, health, and your future meals. I'd like to welcome Lisa Roper to the show today. I don't know how to introduce you. Hunter, angler, mother, influencer, ambassador, somebody that I'm jealous to watch your Facebook and Instagram. Not actually jealous. I'm actually thrilled. It's nice to open it up and see all of the things that you get out there and pursue.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you for having me. Definitely all of those things. I love being in the outdoors. I absolutely love hunting and fishing, being a wife, being a mom, balancing all of that and just taking it on. And I hope that by being out there and actually being active, doing all these things, help inspire other people to just get outdoors.
And that's exactly what Harvest Your Own is all about and why you're on the show today.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about Lisa Roper.
I grew up most of my life in northeastern Alberta, so grassland and Lac-La-Biche area. So fished and spent a lot of time hunting in that kind of travel lakeland area.
Right.
And I grew up hunting with my dad and my brother, and of course he was hunting with his dad, and so that whole tradition and passing it down, and now I'm passing that down to my kids, which
Right.
is super great. And from there, I just I loved hunting and fishing, and I remember being on many adventures, being the only girl, and honestly, I can't imagine how hard that was on my dad at times, right? Because I remember sometimes them chirping him a little bit,
Right.
but he stood his ground and allowed me to come along, and here I am today.
Yeah, and you've come a long ways. You and I got into this the easy way. Tradition, family, we grew up with it. It was second nature. There's lots of people today that are trying to get into hunting because they want to have their own meals, create their own, hormone-free proteins that are better for health and the connection between the land and living, basically. But you're doing a lot out there to help people that aren't in a traditional hunting family and working to get them started on the fishing and hunting side. We're focusing mostly on hunting here, but I've seen you at the sportsman shows. I see your messages on social media. You've been writing a bit, definitely getting the message out there, and you have a passion for it.
Thank you, Brad. Really, that means a lot. Yeah.
It's all right. Talking about family always stirs up emotion, and it's one of the things I love about Harvest Your Own. I've seen people that I've helped mentor and get out in the field. You and I were talking earlier about maybe we should try and get out for a duck and goose hunt this fall. You've never hunted ducks and geese. Be a great opportunity to get you out there and see what you've been missing all these years. And it's a great one to get the kids involved in because there's lots of action, lots of shooting. I often describe moose hunting as 10 days of boredom followed by 30 seconds of sheer exhilaration. And that's kind of what we got together to speak about today, because I was looking at your Instagram and Facebook posts and I saw that the draw results came out and Lisa Roper drew a moose tag and a mule deer tag. And that's pretty hard to do nowadays. There's record-setting numbers of people putting in for the draws. And my wife and I both drew zilch this year. We're hunting general, but we're lucky we live in Alberta. We do have the opportunities, but
absolutely.
I was very excited to see your moose and your mule deer announcement.
I'm pretty excited too, to be honest. I did do a little research last year on, I went out and I did a wolf hunt, and I just absolutely love this area I was in. So I went on to Alberta Realm and I started looking around for this, the WMU that I'll be in, and looking at, past history and what priority I needed and what,
Right.
What was drawn for priority. And so I was pretty excited because I was a priority 4, and last year 100% of priority 4 was drawn. They only issue 15 tags.
Wow.
So I knew I really wanted to be down in this area, which I know taking a bull moose is a challenge of its own. And I know I probably honestly bit off more than I can chew, but I really want to get into it. Northeast Alberta is completely different than Southwest Alberta.
Right.
And so it's going to be new country. It's going to be a totally new experience.
What are you doing to prepare for it?
Well, there's lots. Right in the beginning, definitely doing my research about the area. I have a friend who's going to be joining me on this hunt, and he actually was a part of our wolf hunt as well.
Right.
And so, and one of the great things that happened when I was on my wolf hunt was the owner of the lodge we were staying at actually took us up, invited me up to my son and I up to a scenic helicopter tour. And so then just to see the land from that angle was absolutely amazing. And so, working with my iHunter app, working with Google Earth, really trying to zone in on those areas that, I think the moose are going to be sitting in.
Right.
Talking with my friend Andre, who obviously has, been very successful hunting moose. And just, honestly, sharing ideas back and forth and what we think is going to look good and where we think, we're going to set up. When I went back out again to do my wolf hunt, I did, some walkabouts and, looking for just common areas that I knew I wanted to be in or a part of. From there, already starting to train, right? Because, let's be honest, a moose is a really big animal.
Yes.
So, doing some training, weights and all that kind of stuff to be prepared. And I want to be able to pack this moose out and do it all from start to finish.
Right. Well, I think you're doing it the way most Albertans are trying to learn, like doing the research. Where can I get drawn? What is the habitat like? Is it private land? Using iHunter and Google Earth and all of those things are great tools to give you an overview of the landscape, the people you're going to have to introduce yourself to, and where to get started. I do think you're very wise finding a good hunting partner for moose. I've harvested several on my own, and they are a lot of work.
Yeah, I've been out hunting with my dad and my brothers, and we've harvested some moose, and yeah, it's a lot of work. And you get tired pretty fast I couldn't even imagine, actually, I'll be honest. I could never imagine doing that solely on my own from start to finish. So I'm really excited to have someone beside me and someone beside me who not only is a successful hunter, but also a teacher. Right. He's just really great in sharing his knowledge. And I think that that's important because it's not just the experience. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to just, be able to do better next time.
Right. Well, it's interesting because in Alberta, we have lots of opportunity. We have moose in the prairie, parkland, boreal forest, foothills. So moose hunts can be very different. Lots of the farmland, you can shoot them and drive up to them with a truck, but it sounds like you'll be refitting your backpack to make sure the straps are in the right spot and you got some back support and some game bags and not only a knife, but a knife sharpener with you as well. Absolutely.
All of that. And, that's part of the research and packing your bag and knowing what to pack because you don't want unnecessary weight. And so what are the essentials? What are the necessities that I need to have?
Right. One thing I should ask you is it an early season hunt or a late season? Because that differs quite a bit too. In the early season, we have the opportunity to communicate with moose, which is sometimes it's as much fun as, it's the most fun of a moose hunt is when you can get a response and get them to be vocal and interactive with you. It just takes things to a whole new level.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's definitely early season. And I have been, I can do archery in the late part of August, early part of September, and then I can flow right into my tag season, which starts about September 25th. So super exciting. And I've been practicing my calls.
So in case our listeners don't know what it's like, this is a moose call during the calling season. Cow moose, lovesick, long ball that they lower their head and swing their neck back and forth, and their voice travels like a megaphone.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I have shivers right now.
Yeah, this was from a moose hunt I did last year up in that area where you grew up, just north of the Lakeland district there. So
wonderful.
there's a lot to be said about moose hunting. I think it's one of Alberta's favorite because Albertans are meat hunters. We want to put meat in our freezer. We want to feed our families, and a moose does that in a big way. The average bull is probably the equivalent of 5 big deer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you can fill your freezer quick, but you also have to be physically, mentally prepared and have the right equipment because it is a different game altogether. And on that note, I think what we'll do is we'll share a little bit of information on Harvest Your Own and where people can go to get more information, because there's articles, there's videos. If you drop a big moose, how do you field dress it?
Absolutely.
And here's where you can find it.
Podcast is produced for Harvest Your Own, a program dedicated to those who want to reconnect with food and health through their experiences outdoors. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a resource for individuals to learn more about hunting and the outdoors. There's information to get you started and ensure that your compass stays pointed in the right direction to be successful. Where's your next meal coming from?
Well, if I lived in your house, I'd say your next meal's coming from Southwest Alberta somewhere.
I really hope so. I do. And, I've decided to really, really push my limits. And I've set a goal. I'm going to attempt to be out there for 7 to 10 days. And half of my hunt, I want to actually attempt to take this bull moose with my bow.
Right. Which means more prep.
Does.
Yeah. Like archers and bow hunters, you can't just pick up your equipment and head for the field. You have a fair bit of prep to do to be knowledgeable with your equipment, efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, you were saying, what am I doing to be prepared? Even at that, I'm setting up 3D targets, in the bush in really tight lanes,
right.
Things that, I get a little uncomfortable with. So really pushing myself before I get into that situation. I'm not hunting from a tree stand. It's on the ground,
right.
Spot and stock, calling them in. I'm excited.
Oh, that's good. I've been fortunate to take a few moose with the bow too, and I think preparing for it is almost as exciting as the hunt, because you can set up your decoys as you mentioned, and sometimes you're shooting off your knees or squatting or this or that, and of course you always have to remember proper form. If your torso is bent in different ways, your arrow isn't going to fly straight, and that's hard for people to comprehend, but it's all part of the mental game of preparing for any type of hunt.
Absolutely. And, I'm just going to go a little further on the mental game. I think it's super important for people to practice, whether it be with your bow or your rifle, in different weather conditions. And a lot of people, when they go out practicing, it's a nice day, let's go shoot some arrows.
Right.
And it's like, try shooting those arrows when the wind is up and it's raining and, all the conditions that you're probably going to encounter. That's, important.
It is. It's a game changer when opportunity actually knocks on the door, because it's not always blue skies, sunshine, and shirt sleeve weather when you're out there. So
exactly,
going through those steps in advance and knowing how your equipment operates and how you do makes a difference in the end for success.
Very true. Yep.
Now, mule deer. I know you've hunted whitetail because, again, following social media, you shot a very nice whitetail buck last year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's the story behind that?
Oh, that was an incredible story. Luck, really. But I had hunted probably 20 days in November and just wasn't seeing the buck that I was hoping for. And then I decided to sleep in one morning. I had to get my head back in mentally, right? Sometimes we just go through that and it's good to take a little time out. So I did that. And I decided, no, I'm going, but it's a little late, but I'm still going to go. So I drove into my area and parked, and I like to get dressed outside the vehicle. All that scent control stuff's important to me. Yep. And I had this plan that I was going to go south, we'll just say. And as I was getting dressed, I'm always scanning as I'm, getting prepared. And I looked and 300 yards, and there was this buck. And I'm like, no way. So right away, I put up my scope, and I really wasn't comfortable with that 300-yard shot. And he was, walking and sauntering anyways. And so then he kind of went into the bush, and I just gunned it. Like, I just ran as fast as I could, set up. I started rattling really, really aggressive, doing some calling, and he came out of the bush like a freight train right at me. And really actually wasn't quite prepared for that quickness.
Right.
And so my gun was on my tripod because I'm trying to rattle and do all these other things. And all of a sudden, I mean, he was just like 20 yards from me. And I pulled up my gun and I'm like, all right. And yeah, it was a really great shot. And he actually ended up, when I hit him, he actually ended up about, 8, maybe 11. It's on my story. 8 or 11 yards from me is where he actually laid
Crashed,
down. Yeah.
right.
And so it was just magnificent.
Well, I'm glad that you can share the excitement because I can sense it in your voice and I can see it and people don't always understand that. That's one of the reasons we hunt. We don't always feel the same excitement for taking a life or harvesting an animal, but it has its rewards in its way that you can only understand if you're a hunter.
Absolutely agree.
Yep. And I sort of relive that every time a piece of it hits the barbecue on my plate.
Yes.
You know, you do give thanks because it's not a given.
Nope.
And we're blessed with opportunity in Alberta. And, you know, we could only wish that we could all have an experience like that where you could rattle and call in a deer and he comes charging up to you. And you're also right about the mental game. Like, deer can be frustrating. You know, you can put in a lot of time.
Yep.
Sometimes you go out and it happens in the first hour.
Yep.
Sometimes you put in 20 days and you wonder if you've lost your sanity.
Totally.
But you stick with it because, well, I tell people, welcome to the addiction. You know, like hunting gets in your, it becomes who you are. It's not just a sideline or something you do for entertainment. It's a passion. It's part of your life. It helps define you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So your deer story is very exciting, and I hope that we can get you back to talk about mule deer because you've never hunted mule deer.
No, I have never hunted mule deer, and I've never been with anyone who's hunted mule deer. So right? So
Right.
doing 2 in 1 year, but it'll be great. I'm going to focus on my moose first and foremost because the mule deer season does go later with my tag. So, and it's in the same area. So that's actually going to give me a hands-on opportunity while I'm hunting moose to quickly look at, or not quickly, but spend time looking for mule deer at the same time, right? Signs and where they're bedding and all that kind of stuff. So, moose first and then mule deer.
Well, you know, good planning though, because they're in the same zone.
That's right.
So you're down there with your bow.
Yep.
And both are open.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So I like to say that as you're a planned opportunist. That's what I do as well. You know, if I can put several eggs in one basket, so to speak, it increases your odds for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, for me to have to learn 2 brand new WMUs, I think is a lot in 1 year.
Right.
Like to, you know, really get after it and want to be successful. So exactly like you were saying, Brad, putting them together just gives you, I think, a better chance and more opportunity.
Right. Yeah, I've been known to carry small game heads and flues and stuff in my quiver as well, just to take advantage of the grouse or pheasants, depending on where you are. And it often provides the hors d'oeuvres in camp at night while you're hoping to find a moose or a deer.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah. So what would you be looking for a mule deer? You drew a buck tag, an antlered mule deer tag?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
And you've never hunted them before. How are you approaching it? Like, what's your mental game? Are you looking for any deer? Or are you going to try to, look for something a little bit bigger to provide some more steak? Or is it just about the experience?
I think for my mule deer, actually, I'm going to just back up. For my moose, it is different. I'm looking for an animal. Right. For my mule deer, I want the experience.
Yeah.
So, I'm not looking for size. It's not about the antlers. It's about the experience, the moment, the memories, learning. I have a lot to learn on this learning curve. And so I just want to be able to embrace all of that. I just started doing research with regards to mule deer and where they like to, bed and hang out and their routines. So, just there's a lot to learn there for me. So
there is, and it's a different game than hunting whitetail or moose. And, that's the beauty of having a diversity of species in Alberta. Mm-hmm. We can have a diversity of experiences. So, if people are looking for information on a specific species like mule deer, whitetail, moose, or elk, you can go to Harvest Your Own and look them up by species.
This podcast was made possible by Alberta Conservation Association and the Harvest Your Own community. If you're interested in harvesting your own food, there's a comprehensive collection of information to gain insight and knowledge. Head to the field, harvest your own protein, prepare it, and taste the results. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a library of information from getting started and geared up to processing, butchering, and cooking wild game to make the connection between health and food.
And it is a great connection. You know, that's all we eat at our house is wild game and fish and birds. And I'm sure that your family eats a lot of wild game.
We do eat a lot of wild game, and I grew up on wild game,
Right.
Because, like I said, you know, it was in our family, and, you know, my dad hunted, and it was just kind of the way of life, really, for us. So between fish and moose and deer, yeah, I think that was pretty much our three staples in the house. You know, and I want to give that same quality of food to my family.
Right.
And so I do a lot of catch and release, and I don't keep a lot of my fish. But when I do, you know, having that shore lunch and having things like pickled fish or
Right.
smoked fish, I mean, it's wonderful. Same with the moose and deer meat. Yeah, love it.
Equipment-wise, you've got moose and mule deer coming up, and I'm sure you're going to have some whitetails in your plans this fall, closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
Is your equipment the same?
Depends on my hunt, right? If I'm hunting deer and I'm hunting them in a thicker forest, I like to use my 243,
Yep.
right? Just lighter. For my moose, I'm not comfortable with my 243, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are, so good on you guys, girls. But for me, I just know how I feel and my limits. So I'm looking to use a 308 for my moose, and really I'd still like to take that with a bow. So
Well, those are good discussions to have because you know, most Alberta big game hunters can do everything with one firearm.
they can.
And a lot of people are scared of recoil or just the noise of a firearm. So you've chose a 243, which is a great caliber.
It is.
What do you like about it? Why did you pick it?
I like, well, first of all, I just feel like I have the fin light, so I just feel it fits me as a woman
Right.
better. And I like how light it is. I don't find that it has a big recoil, like a 300 mag, obviously, or because they're two totally different calibers. But I'm just, I just find it, my confidence with that gun, we blend together.
Two very important things you brought up. The gun fits you properly.
Mm-hmm.
You have confidence.
Mm-hmm.
The way you get confidence is to shoot it lots.
Yes.
And, you know, you talked about you've been practicing with your bow all summer. Have you been out to the rifle range at all, or places where you could also practice with your firearm?
I did in the early parts, you know, March, April, May,
Yeah.
I had more time. Unfortunately, right now I'm
Fish.
fish, and fish some more.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah. So I definitely will settle back in with my rifle and doing some more target practice and stuff come August, obviously. And I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I did put in those hours and time in the earlier part, so it's not like I haven't picked up my gun.
Trigger time is always good. I tell people that, you
Yeah.
know, whether you're shooting a 22 or 17 or the rifle you're going to use
Mm-hmm.
in the field hunting, learning how to control that trigger and your breathing and shooting accurately and controlling your heart rate and all that is it's something worth practicing.
Absolutely agree. And, you know, I'll be honest, I actually developed this little flinch last year, and I don't have a clue why or what happened.
Right.
And so I actually just went back, I took a break, and I started shooting the 22.
Yep.
Right. And I just worked my way back up. And then it was like, okay, I'm good again.
Right.
Right. But it's just listening to yourself and allowing yourself to just work through something is so important, especially when it comes to rifles, and really listening to that moment of, okay, something's not working here. Figure out why.
Yep. Or get somebody to help you figure out why, because most of the time it's a mental game that you're anticipating the recoil or something, or some might have problems believing that sometimes you just get really excited.
No, really? I
Yeah.
have no idea what you're talking about.
It's funny because I've hunted for a lot of years and I still have those moments where I swear that I've got a short flush of buck fever that I have to get under control before I I get my finger anywhere near the trigger. So
Yeah, I'm not sure that's ever going to get out of me. Yeah. I definitely have that adrenaline, the shake. Yeah, but I love it. That's why we're here. That's why we do it and keep challenging ourselves.
Right. And that's when you can control that to make the right shot and then get the shakes is ideal. But I'll almost guarantee you, if you've never hunted before and you go out for a moose or a mule deer or whitetail or whatever it is, your first opportunity is you're going to be overwhelmed. Your senses are going to be it'll rain down on you. Your nerves, your heart rate, your breathing. It'll be an experience like you've never had before.
You know, that's a really interesting points, Brad. And I've actually had people come and talk to me about that. And I often tell people, if you just need to enjoy that first moment, which means, yes, you might miss the opportunity, but you're fully not prepared because you're overshaking or you're panicking or your adrenaline, you can't get it dialed back down. Honestly, I support don't take the shot.
Absolutely.
Right? Really, really no. Until you can get everything back controlled, you're breathing, all of that, and you're ready, take that shot. And I know that's super hard for people because it's like, oh my goodness, I have this great buck in my scope.
Yeah. You worked hard for it.
But if you take the shot and you miss or you wound the animal, that's not great either.
Oh, not at all. So yeah, it's all part of the preparation. If you can get out and practice lots, and like you said, 22, it doesn't matter if it's all big bore rifles. The small stuff definitely helps. And you know what, if you're intimidated by firearms in general, we're lucky because we have lots of opportunity for archery in Alberta. And it's a really neat connection hunting that close to anything like the different game species to be able to get right into their backyard, get to know them better, understand the habitats they live in, and get intimate with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Food for thought. I always like to ask people, what's your favorite wild game or recipe?
Wow. Honestly, I have so many. I mean, I really, for wild game, I enjoy moose and elk. I mean, I love deer, but, if I could only eat one again, it would be moose or elk.
Right.
And I absolutely love, obviously, fish. And favorite recipe? Wow. It would probably be wild game stir fry.
Yes.
Yeah, with all the fresh vegetables and... yeah, my mouth's watering. So.
Yeah, there are some recipes like that on Harvest Your Own. I've seen them there, and I've actually written a few for them. That's one of our girls' favorite too, the moose and broccoli chow mein or something like that. They absolutely devour it. Yeah. We're just lucky to have such a diversity of proteins to take advantage of in Alberta. You also shot a spring bear this year?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I was lucky to get out as well, and actually had 3 young fellas that had never hunted bears. Gave them a lesson. They went out and each one of them harvested a bear. They were thrilled beyond belief.
Congratulations.
Yes,
that is awesome.
I was thrilled for them. And then they came back and they were so excited they wanted to make sure that it was fully utilized. So we made summer sausage and some salami and different things and some corned bear. Nice. And they were pretty excited about that and are already making plans for next year.
Well, and if you've shared those recipes on Harvest Your Own, Brad, I just want people to know I've actually tasted Brad's amazing recipes with his bear, and they are delicious.
They are. It's an overlooked species in Alberta. It was a very important species for the pioneers of Alberta because 100 grams of bear meat has 20 grams of protein. Yeah. Like it's like a powerhouse food, and the fats that it has, you can make your own lard, which was very expensive in the day, and you had to travel a long ways to town to get it. So, back in the day, bears were very important to people settling in Alberta, and I think that'd be a good show discussion someday, as we could talk about the black bear and the importance they had for settling the western provinces and different places. And I often feel like they're the Rodney Dangerfield. They don't get the respect they deserve, and we fully utilize our game when we take it, and that includes black bears.
Excellent. And yeah, I think that's great that we could maybe chat about it again, because I do think a lot of people just have so many misconceptions or myths about bear meat, and you can't cook it and you can't prepare it, and it's, so that's great.
Yeah, it's all fun. Lisa, I really want to thank you for coming in today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I am probably as excited about your moose hunt as you are. I'm an Alberta hunter at heart. If I could have a moose tag every year, I'd be out there just for the experience and for the proteins that I could put in the freezer. So we hope to have you back and hear a story about how the hunt went, how you dealt with it, how you broke it down, got it in game bags, got it out. So every one of us on the Harvest Your Own team is wishing you the best of luck this fall, and congratulations on doing your research, doing it properly, and making time to go experience more of Alberta's great outdoors.
Thank you, Brad. And again, thank you for having me.
We hope to inspire people to reconnect with nature and appreciate where your food comes from by harvesting your own. For more information on getting started or to learn specifics about the Field to Fork experience, visit harvestyourown.ca and follow on Facebook and Instagram. Check back often for new material, recipes, and videos that are posted regularly. Please subscribe to Harvest Your Own podcast and take the time to rate and review the show to help us build a dedicated core of passionate hunters as our regular audience. Until next time, embrace the outdoors and all it has to offer. Thanks for joining us.